Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. My name is Ben Errington, and today I'm joined by regular co-host Mr.
Andy Conduit Turner. Hello, Ben. How you doing?
I'm doing all right, mate. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. It's August now, isn't it? Or, as we call it here on Horror Hangout, it's the Fright Fest month. It's
August.
here.
Oh, Fright Fest month. Or August. I don't call it that. Uh, it is Fright Fest month. Can you believe it? It's come around ever so quick. Are you excited?
I am excited. We got our accommodation booked the other day. So we got our
A little bed sit for us to. Well, I don't know if
little,
it's that.
yeah, little
A
bed
single
sit for us to
bed.
hang out. Thing is, no, I pushed the boat out, Ben, and we have a bed each. Um, but yeah,
Damn.
in old London town, though, tell you what. Pay a premium for that. But yeah, we've got our
Exactly, you do.
accommodation sorted. Got to get my train sorted, and then we're there. It's come
And
around.
then
It'll
we're
come around
there.
like
It'll
no
be like
time.
that. Can you believe it? So yeah, I guess we did talk about the August lineup for the podcast a little bit last week, but let me just reiterate. Let's double down on it and talk about obviously today we're talking about Tucker and Dale versus Evil, a horror comedy that is again a surprise. We've taken this long to get around to. Then a couple of new releases, including Trap with Josh Hartnett
Trapped, the
in.
stadium that makes you get trapped.
Are you trapped in a stadium or something? I am. Have you got a dirty, horrible secret? Maybe. Um, M. Night Shyamalan's latest. He's bashing them out, isn't he? I'll
You know,
tell you
his other
what.
daughter is in this one.
Really? Oh, what, like
Yeah,
starring in it?
yeah. You know
She's
the
not
pop
this.
idol that they go
I was
to
gonna
see in the
say that.
concert.
Is
That's
she the
her.
singer?
She is. She's
Wow.
a
I'll tell you
singing.
what.
She's a
What a,
singing Shyamalan family member.
what a great time to be related to M. Night Shyamalan. M stands for movies, remember? Um, but
Movie night Shyamalan. Excellent.
movie, the movie Night Shyamalan. I didn't think that through in full, but yeah, that there's that coming out. Yeah, he's been passionate about, hasn't he? We've had Knock at the Cabin just last year, The Beach That Makes You Get Old, maybe a couple of years before that. What a time to
He
be alive.
produced The Watchers. Yeah, so he's been very
Oh yeah,
busy.
very busy man. He, as if you follow him on social media, he is always like literally the dust will settle up on his latest film, and he'll say, "Just bashing out another script." You wait till you see this one. You never guess what a bloody twist is. There, I might not do a twist. Then you'd all feel silly, wouldn't you?
Yeah. M. Night Shyamalan's new film, the killer is the person you meet at the beginning. You'd be like, the whole film, you go, it's not going to be him, is
This
it?
could be
But
Trap.
he
This
is.
could be Trap. It could be. I feel like you're talking about the premise of Trap. Yeah. Ash Millman is joining us again on the show, which is very exciting. She went to an event just last week all about Trap. I wasn't. It was one of those events where I'm like, is it just some sort of gathering of a load of wonderful people, or did she actually see the film? Who knows? Hopefully, she would have seen the film by the time it
By the
comes
time we
around.
talk about it next week, but Ash has been running into the Shyamalan family quite a lot recently. She has seen
Can't...
movie night Shyamalan more than I've seen my own parents this summer,
Can you imagine? I'd love to
rubbing
be on.
shoulders with the stars.
I'd love to like just be on. I was going to say first name terms, but any level of terms with M. Night Shyamalan. Just
All
like
right,
that little
movies.
nod. All right, movies. Just that little nod of recognition. Do you know what I mean? You again. Yes, me again. I did see a photo that's been going viral the last week, which is somebody's met M. Night Shyamalan at some sort of event, and they're holding up a sign that says "Thanks for the childhood trauma," and it's a screen grab of the alien strolling past the screen during the Brazilian birthday party in Signs.
Yeah, one of his finest pieces of work.
One of the finest pieces of work in any media ever. So yeah, Trap will be the week after that, and then we've got returning guest Terrell Graham. You may remember him from the Evil Dead Rise episode last year. He's back to talk about Alien Romulus, which is probably, I would say, at this point of the year, my most anticipated film, like of the year. I've worded that terribly. This year, my most anticipated film of the
Film
year
of the
is
year this
Alien
year.
Romulus. This year, you know what? Because again, expectations were kind of not low, but they were nowhere for a while. Then I started seeing more of this, started seeing a lot of the marketing, some of the posters that are coming out, remembering who's directing it. I'm thinking, you know what? I know it's going to be a good time, and now we're mere weeks away from having a Romulus.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it as well. I was at the cinema the other day and saw the little making of trailer one last time. You know, the one that's
Oh yeah,
it's quite an exorbitant trailer where they're like, "This is 5 minutes, mate. You're not getting 2 minutes of film clip here. This is
yeah.
like, well, when Ridley made the last one, I was like this. You know, all the space British people that are going to be in it, and talking about
We
the real
thought we'd
effects that
hire
are in it.
the real effects. They've got a real xenomorph in this one.
Yeah,
They've reared
loads
it.
of no CGI, lots of wires and rubbery men.
Yeah. Loads of wires and rubbery men. And that's just my weekend. All right. That's nothing to do with the film. Did we talk last week about I think we spoke with Oliver a little bit about petroleum jelly and goo in aliens and alien films. Was that us?
Fish guts and
Ma-
ball bearings could be any given week, Ben.
It's true. I feel like maybe I spoke about it with someone else in the real world as well. Not to suggest this isn't the real world. Um, but yeah, Alien Romulus, and then rounding off the month nicely with Fright Fest 2024. We're going to be there on the ground, feet on the ground, feet on the ground, or feet on the ground, chatting to people in real time. I've already been on Twitter. You know what, Andy? People have been talking about Fright Fest. I've been going. You know what? Come and talk to us. We'll be
Good.
there. You'll see us. We've still got to get Fright Fest t-shirts, right? We're going to do that, right?
We're gonna get new t-shirts made. Horror Hangout X Fright Fest, Godzilla Kong
We
style.
can out. We're there for like 4 days though. Can we wear them the whole time, or are we going to be dirty? Get the Febreze
Oh,
on them.
well, Ben, you never guessed the lovely accommodation I've got for us.
Oh what?
It's got a washing machine in it.
It might have a washing machine. That might wash out the stains, but it won't wash out the shame if someone sees us in those t-shirts every day. Unless
We'll
we
post pictures of us having two, a wash and a wear, and putting the cycle on.
exactly. Or we'll go up to people, even if they merely glance at us, go up to people and go, "Smell that? Fresh at the washing machine this morning," just to get the awkwardness out of the way. You
Yeah,
know.
smell this. Notice my freshly pressed thing. Honestly, shock us with Lenore in this. Get in. Get that
Beautiful.
smell.
Get in, give it a sniff. People around us are gonna be like, "God, I can smell fresh laundry. What is it?"
I mean, not to generalize, Ben, but I think any festival where it's mostly based on a sedentary activity, be it video games, be it comics, be it movies,
You're about to say everyone's.
you're probably gonna have a fairly fresh t-shirt on average, even if you're on
All right.
second day, mate.
Yeah, that's
You're all
true.
right.
I was gonna say you're just gonna accuse everyone of stinking, which you might be.
No,
I
not there
definitely get.
anyway. Those cinemas in the Leicester Square, excellent air conditioning,
I
chilly
hope that's.
cool.
I
You'd
hope
be on
that's still the
ice.
case. I hope that's still the case. That'd be lovely. You couldn't fall asleep in these, even when we went to Fright Fest at the IMAX Cineworld last year. People were falling asleep, weren't
No, I don't know how you managed it. I'd worry about never waking up being that cold.
they? You'd be put on ice, like at
Like
the end of
California
Alien.
man.
Look, California man.
Yeah, I get dug up in the distant future by Pauly Shore.
Oh, that would be terrifying. That's a horror film in itself. Pauly Shore, jeez. Saw Pauly Shore recently on like a podcast, and he he could have done with getting California Man because age just hit him like a truck. Sorry, Pauly Shore. Or can we diss him? Is he all right to diss? I don't know.
I don't know. I'd have to
Yeah.
Google to see if he's all right.
Let's give him a chance. Uh yeah, so looking forward to that. As I said, we've already had a couple of We put the lineup out on social media. We've already had a couple of messages asking if we're going to cover Cuckoo, which is out the same weekend as we are at Fright Fest. So we definitely can't do it that week, but maybe perhaps we could possibly get it in
Do
for
it the week after.
week one of September.
Yeah,
So
why
thank
not?
you for those queries. I do like the look of the film. I do want to see it, definitely. So why the hell not? Let's see what we've got on
I'll
the
have a look
on the
at
agenda.
Cuckoo in September.
Have a look at a cuckoo, will you? In terms of horror news, then Andy, unless I'm just diving straight into life,
No,
and
what's new in the news?
now HBO shared some tiny, tiny little teasers of both Welcome to Derry, the It prequel series, and The Last of Us series 2. And by tiny, tiny, we're talking 6 seconds each. It's like it's
Okay.
one of it's one of those like HBO or HBO Max kind of trailers that shows probably about 6 or 7 things, and it happens to show a little bit of Welcome to Derry and a little bit of The Last of Us 2. Um, just people screaming pretty much, and then someone doing a creepy smile. You know,
A
people love a
Pennywise.
creepy smile, don't they? No, yeah, could possibly be a Pennywise. What are they going to do with this? Because
It's a prequel,
surely
right?
it's a prequel, so surely Pennywise is having a nap, right? Every 27 years.
Yeah. Or is it 27 years? My goodness knows when it is. Welcome to Derry. Is it about a time that he just wins?
Oh, yeah, I guess it might be. It's weird, isn't it? Unless there's like residual Pennywise stuff happening within those 27 years. I don't know. It's hard to tell, really. Or, Pennywise, he's an interesting being, multi-dimensional, maybe he can terrorize or it can terrorize. It is
He's having
the
like little Rick
correct
and
term.
Morty adventures going to different dimensions, is he?
Yeah, or maybe he can terrorize lots of different people at different times. But then again, it is happening in Derry, so maybe
Might be in
Derry's
London,
always
Derry, Ireland.
maybe London Derry. And
Um,
the Last of
don't
Us
call it that
stuff,
actually, just Derry. Yeah.
don't call it that. But also a little bit of The Last of Us 2 as well. We get to see some new characters but 6 seconds of each. It's not really a trailer, but I thought it was worth mentioning because I don't really know what to
They're
think of
coming. I
this.
guess, I mean, The Last of Us season two, I'm interested to see what they're going to do. Like, are they going to make the next game a longer thing? No spoilers, obviously, for items that
I
inevitably
think
happen in the plot of the second game.
I think look, they don't want to run out of source material too soon. They don't want to do a Game of Thrones where like source material they take over the source material because I think that's what happened with Game of Thrones, right? I think you
Yeah.
need to start telling the story of the second game a bit, but also due to the again no spoilers, but due to the way some character arcs sort of pan out, they might need to elongate certain things. I think what they'll probably do is they'll go, this is the story of the second game. However, we've also added in this plot in the middle, and it might be an original sort of something that they've decided to include. And there's a bit of a time jump between the first and the second game as well, so we can explore things that happen between those games as well, potentially.
Just the further adventures of Ellie and Joel.
The further adventures of Ellie and Joel loving life together, making the most of
Living
this.
each day as
Of
if
the...
it's the last of us.
Well, that was lovely. I enjoyed that. Loving each. Ronan Keating might make a appearance in some way.
I think you have a bit of
You
an
think
anthem if you lived in the Last of Us world, because it's a positive outlook about,
it really
Carpe
is?
Diem.
And you know what? Great Game of Thrones had Ed Sheeran in it for like one scene. Why can't we get Ronan Keating in anything, everything? Come on, come on, Ronan.
Which of
Um,
these two upcoming series would you least like to find yourself stuck in?
bloody hell.
A
Um,
Last of Us situation
I
or a
think.
Derry?
Well, a Last of Us situation, the world's gone to shit, never to change again. You're in there, even if you overcome the threats of the infected and clickers and all that stuff, you're still in a post-apocalyptic world. Whereas I feel like in Welcome to Derry, despite the fact that the threat is a very different one, supernatural, um, if you defeat Pennywise,
Oh, of course,
or if he goes back to bed, because you could just make fun of him and he'll die,
that's it.
or if he
You can't, that
or
bloody Pennywise, right? You can dish it out. Can't really take it,
Pennywise.
can he?
Pennywise, you're a rubbernecking, you're a weak little twat. You are.
Yeah.
You're a nincompoop.
You
No?
go and see
Yeah, you are.
Pennywise. You go,
You're
Idiot
Ed.
says
You're
what? He
Ed.
goes, pardon?
But what I'm saying is, like, I think now I'm not like um disregarding the strength of children, and especially children together in a unit destroying Pennywise. But if they could beat him up, I could beat him up. You know what I mean? Come on,
Yeah.
Pennywise, you
I
bloody
then need to
weakling.
slag him off a little bit and then I'd be able to club him with,
Yeah, I club him, kick him right in the nutsack. So yeah, I guess Welcome to Derry would be the series I'd most, because yeah, if you manage to survive, he'll go back to bed for 27 years. And I
Especially
don't know about
nowadays, you'd be
you.
on your phone, you don't even notice him. If he's waving at you from a drain pipe saying, Ben, you'd be like,
Exactly.
texting
I
me.
walk into the road, die, get hit by a car. Um, yeah, for 27 years, like that's a long time away, and it like when someone says this thing's happening in 27 days, I go, that's a lifetime away. I don't need to think about it until at least 25, 6 days. 27 years, you said that to me, I'd be like, forget it.
I just lived my entire life, thanks.
That's my entire life done. Yeah, exactly. We never know. That's my answer. Is your answer something similar, or would you?
Yeah, The Last of Us is there's less. I feel an individual thing, maybe just one, be all right. Stay out of the way of those mushroom folks. But yeah, the world is grim. Got
Stay out of the way of it. You'd have to kill it, but otherwise you'd be constantly worried. You'd hear it
yeah,
coming, of
can't
course,
even have a
but
lovely game of Mortal Kombat 2 to yourself without the Last of Us
mate,
things coming to get you.
exactly, you can't. Terrifying. When you see things on like on Twitter and stuff where it's like you're now transported to the world of the last game you played. How screwed are you? Do you ever like genuinely think about that stuff when it comes up? You go,
Yeah,
would I be all right?
thankfully, Ben, play quite a lot of Pokemon games. I think I'd be in for a wonderful time.
Mm.
I wouldn't just survive in that
That's
world,
lovely.
Ben, but I'd thrive.
Thrive. Thrive in that world. I've
I
been
bet
playing
I'd be
Blood.
on the Olympics that's on right now. That'd be me, the equivalent. I'd be Team GB. I'd be out there. I'd get a baseball cap.
Oh, yes. What a
Think,
time to be alive.
not dissatisfied with the life I've got today, Ben, but it would pale in comparison to
Yeah.
the accolades I could enjoy
Oh,
in
I agree.
Pokemon World.
There'll be some mild peril occasionally, right? But you probably overcome it. I can't imagine you
Yeah, you'll
getting
sometimes bump
done in.
into a Team Rocket or whatever you, but
Yeah.
free healthcare. It's all right.
I'd be in the world of Bloodborne because I'm playing Bloodborne.
Oh no.
I'll tell you what, it's bloody horrible. It is it is horrible. Horrible beasts, werewolves, like every single creature there is too much. You know what I mean? There's like a crow creature on the floor, and I go, shall I go over to this and just like nudge it with my sword, see what happens? Literally goes mad, it's roaring at you. Ah, fucking hell! Yeah, you couldn't sleep in that world. You'd be forever on your toes.
Yeah, I'd say if there was a horror simulated world, I have been with the news we heard last week. I did download Mortal Kombat 1 again.
Oh God, yeah,
But I also figure that that's all right because yes, there's loads of stuff going on. There's a big Mortal Kombat tournament, but your average person
yeah, that's true.
just at home.
Average fella, unless anyone considers you a threat and just wants to challenge you, or to give you a Mortal Kombat finisher, pull you, put a fire hook in your head and pull it down through your torso in a violent nature style.
Yeah, I'd just have to hope they're in a mood for doing a friendship, making me a little
Do,
snowman or something.
doing a friendship. Can we do a friendship, please? Um, okay. The other piece of news I've got is something that a previous guest. Um, so we had Joey join us for the collector. No,
The
collector's the sequel.
collector, yes,
The collector. And
and
what
then
was the second one called?
the collection or the
Tid.
collected. The
The
collected is the
collection.
second one.
Okay. Well, no.
Whichever one
The
we just
collect.
said that was wrong, the third one, which is the other one, is
Yeah.
coming out, right?
He tagged us in something, didn't he? Saying, "Have a look at this, lads." And it was apparently the collected is coming out, the planned third installment of the horror trilogy that began with the collector and continued with the collection. It's all right here in front of me. Why didn't I just read out in the first place? Don't know. The hotly anticipated film, it entered production before shutting down back in 2020 because of bloody COVID, but I understand it's getting a second chance at life here in 2024.
There we
Um,
go.
yeah, I've not actually seen the second one. I've not seen the collector.
I tell you
No,
what,
the collection. It's
the
confusing,
co
isn't it?
the collection. You know that the collector. What if I say to you, the collector? What words come to mind? How would you describe the collector?
Um, a man of he's a hoarder, basically, isn't he? He's a bloody
Yeah,
hoarder.
bloody people. But you wouldn't say he's a nice man, would he? Horrible bloke, isn't it? I would say,
I don't
in
think
terms of
anyone's ever
horrible
been called
blokes,
collector. Marvel's collector is a bit of a wrong un, right?
yeah, he's a wrong guy.
There's no good collectors, unless we're talking Funko Pops, because that's pretty harmless, right?
on the scale of the other collectors being that sort of
I'd
galactic
like to see it.
entity, and then the horrible Spider-Man like looking fella with his black mask and his
Oh
big
yeah,
goggly eyes in there, and like in his obsession with spiders and spooky things and keeping a person in a box. Um,
little evil Rey Mysterio. He looks like, doesn't
it is a little evil Rey Mysterio. Well, as I think I mentioned as we did the episode, the Collector, horrible bloke. In the second film, The Collection, I would say he's more horrible.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say he's redeemed himself. Like,
No,
don't
I
breathe,
would say you
like
caught him
don't
on
breathe style. He's
in the
even worse.
collector. In the collector, I'd say you probably caught him on a good day. In in
Oh,
the collection, is
he's
it's
even
his
even
house.
worse.
So whereas that one he's in that house that he's gone
Oh
into,
yeah, yeah, of
this is
course.
back at his house. Because if you remember the end of the collector, your man
Mm,
gets captured back into a box and slurped off and driven away in the exterminator van. Um, it carries
yeah,
on with that man. He's back in it. I'm interested to see. No spoilers for the collection. Because maybe we'll even do it in anticipation of this coming out between now and then. But
yeah.
it
Oh
ends in
yeah, good
such a way
idea.
where I'm interested to see how they carry on.
Yeah, I mean, if it's happening in his house, that's the second one is in his house. Yeah,
Yeah, in the
you know,
collector's house.
he knows where all the exits are. He knows the ins and outs and everything. The thickness of the walls. The hiding spaces, hiding places. I won't want to take on anyone in their house, let alone a collector.
Yeah, he's horrible, is the collector. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
so I
interested to see
guess
him back though. It's an interesting series.
yeah. Um yeah, I'm sure we'll update everybody on when a potential release date there is for that, and we should get Joey back to talk about the collection. I've got it right that time.
And id.
At some point in yeah, at some point in the future. Do you know what? Because I thought we were going to talk about the lineup as well for the week. That's kind of it I've got for horror news. Have you got anything worth mentioning?
Nothing new, all apart from, it's all been Fright Fest stuff I've been digesting recently.
Digesting some lovely Fright
Oh, I'll
Fest
tell you what,
delights.
I'll add a little bullet point. I shared the Mortal Kombat characters that were getting added that were horror centric and old Ghostface coming in. Bloody missed one off. T1000, Robert Patrick himself is in it as well. There you
Oh
go, everybody. A
yeah,
little bit more
I
news.
did see that. Turned himself into liquid. That's not fair, is it? Have a long spike for an arm. That's going to happen, isn't it? Through
Yeah,
someone's
long
head.
spikes, every combo. Come on.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. What we've been watching this week in the last 7 days. Anything you'd like to discuss, Andy? Have you seen anything brand new, old?
Well, apart from more Fright Fest preparations, I've been putting the hours in, Ben, watching a few more here and there. I did also watch, though, a film from Fright Fest last year, which we weren't able to catch live. Um, it's finally available, so I could pick that up, and I've been meaning to watch it for a little while. So I watched The Black Mass,
Ah,
which
yes.
is
Okay.
directed by and featuring an alum from some crossover between some of our stars of today's film, Devani Pin. Um, she is an actor, writer, director. Seen her in a couple of things previously. She has some small parts in things like Piranha 3D originally, and then has just moved into more and more horror spaces. Um, so this is a really interesting take, The Black Mass, on the Bundy murders, but it is really, really centralized on the young women who were the victims. You
Hmm.
very rarely see Bundy in full frame. It's very it echoes now to what we saw in the way that Nicolas Cage was presented in Longlegs, where you never really get a straight look at him. You see the back of his head while he's having a conversation, see the side of his face while he's talking to people. And as much as it follows Ted Bundy around, the greater focus is on the lives of the women beforehand and, up to the point that they are attacked,
Hmm.
and some close calls even and interactions that happen with people who ultimately maybe even aren't even attacked, but it's all about the focus of those real people that were involved in and around the times of those attacks. Um,
Yeah.
so it's very interestingly built for the build-up in that sense. And then when the film does get into the actual attacks themselves, and I say this as a person who is 350 some episodes into a horror podcast hosting career, right, Ben? Like the attacks are super like blunt and brutal. There isn't like it's not over stylized or glamorized anyway, but it's quite a difficult watch. It's quite horrible in some of the bluntness that it's put across. And Devani Pin has a really good, and obviously the rest of her team that produce these movies clearly have quite a unique eye for how they're going to portray the killings and how they portray the characters, but the brutality towards the end when the attacks actually start taking place is quite remarkable. I don't think
I
it'll
didn't
be for
realize.
everyone.
Yeah. I didn't
Yeah,
realize that film was about Ted Bundy for some reason.
yeah.
I've seen a few bits
I,
about it, but
I
never
knew that
seen.
it was a 1970s killer, but it wasn't explicit, I don't think, from the marketing.
Mm.
Um, but a really interesting take. Like I say, I don't think it'll be for everyone because I think for some, that you wouldn't think of if it's not entertaining for you to look at what are very much real life murders, that's one thing. Although I will say it isn't glamorized. I think if you look at programs like Dharma that maybe build a character more and almost a following for sort of the some of the serial
Yeah.
killers, it is an interesting take where he is not portrayed, especially as the what's the what was the sort of other Ted Bundy biography that came out?
Oh,
Was
with
like
Zac Efron.
shockingly close. Yeah, the Zac Efron one.
Yeah.
Um, it doesn't attempt to humanize him or make him like a more normal or slightly charming guy. He's an absolute grub throughout. He's a real crook bloke.
Yeah.
But yeah, it approaches that I think in a healthier way towards how we portray, you know, real horrible people. Um, some who
Yeah.
just look for entertaining horror won't will find it maybe a bit of a slow burn in the initial build, but it's an interesting film, and I would like to see um Tiffany Pin on more projects like this. I think she has a really an interesting eye for this. I would like to see what she could produce for some horror stuff that we also could just enjoy because it doesn't have that real element to it, which makes it quite so shocking. But she's got a good eye for the production
Mm.
of horrific scenes.
Oh, nice. I will. I think I'll go and check that out then. Definitely.
But that was
Anything
it,
else?
Ben. That's the ones I can talk about. All the rest I got to save for Fright Fest week.
Save them up, get them in the bank. I've got a couple of things to mention. The first one is a film called The Outing, a 1987 horror film. It was originally called The Lamp, I think, when it was released in the UK. Got changed to The Outing. I think in some regions they still call it The Lamp, so it could be The Outing, could be The Lamp. The Lamp's a much better name. The Outing, too generic. What are you doing? Going on an outing? Yeah, but where? Don't you
Could
worry
be
about it.
anywhere. Straight in Manor
So,
Park and Zoo.
exactly. The evil genie comes out of a lamp, kills loads of people at a sleepover, which takes place at a museum. Interesting, right? Sounds like it could be
Sleepover
pretty
at a
cool.
museum.
Sleepover at a museum. It's you know what? It's all right. It's some of the kills are kind of okay, but they're mostly done by an unseen force for the duration. Evil genie, we kind of only really get in the last sort of 15 minutes or so, which is kind of disappointing. I wanted more Evil Genie. Perhaps the effects budget wouldn't stretch as far as that. But this is one of those, right? You know, when sometimes you watch a film that you're convinced you haven't seen before, but some little sequences or some little moments you think, I've seen this before. And not like you've just seen a GIF of it online or you've seen like a little clip on YouTube. Like there's some deep seated memory of you seeing this film. So I sent my mum a text. I said, Mum, do you remember this film called The Lamp? She was like, Oh, yeah, I remember that film. I said, is it called The Outing in some? She's like, oh, I don't know, actually. Is it called The Lamp? And I was like, I feel like I've seen it. Have I seen it before? She was like, oh, well, I've definitely seen it, which probably means yes, you have. Because,
Was
yeah.
your mom's review, Ben? I love a Ben's mom review.
what, what,
After last, a bit gory.
bit gory. I think with this one, she's like, pretty good. I think she said pretty good, this one. And so I reckon this is one of those films that she has seen when I was I think I've explained this situation multiple times. She would like videotape horror films off of the TV and watched them like on a Sunday afternoon while I was like either supposed to be outside playing or inside playing, doing other things. She'd kind of watch these horror movies, and I would always either sneak into the room or
Sneak a
like
little
just to
peek.
sneak a little look. And I saw a few things that scarred me, made me very scared for a long time. But I think this must be where this has come from. I feel like I haven't seen it all before, but definitely some sequences of it. Um, yeah, it's pretty interesting as well. I would check it out. 1987.
Added
I
it to
think
my
it,
watch list, Ben, for the
yeah,
outing.
I think it's got like a Blu-ray release that happened fairly recently. So clearly it's got, uh, obviously I think they wanted it to. There's a lot of fans of it out there who wanted to see it remastered in that way. So that's cool. The only other thing I saw this week is something called Horror in the High Desert, which I didn't really know all that much about. I was told about it. Check it out. It came out in 2021. There's two sequels. There's a second and a third one.
Right in the high
It is
desert.
basically like what it's trying to be. Lake Mungo is going, somebody went missing. We're going to make a documentary about it. Here are all the people who knew this person who went missing. This person used to love going on hikes on his own in the desert. And it even has a similar sort of payoff. Again, no spoilers for Lake Mungo, but where it goes, and now we finally found the footage of what really happened. Here it is, unedited. And I don't know, it kind of just feels like it never quite feels as legitimate as Lake Mungo. Feels a bit like it goes around in circles for a while. And I don't know, I wasn't entirely convinced. Number two and three, who knows what it's about? I don't even know if it's about the same person who went missing. It's one of those pseudo documentaries. Um, and I don't know, there's a couple of moments which could potentially you could be like, oh, that's a bit creepy. But apart from that, it's a lot of people in the documentary are talking about something and they go, well, I think this happened. And I go, all right, Facebook sleuths, not interested. Not interested in you in real life, let alone in a bloody fake documentary. So maybe I'll look at the premise for the second and third one and see if there's any 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 different plot or if they're supposed to be any better because I wasn't entirely convinced.
Okay, but nevertheless, some
Nevertheless, I
lesser
suppose
known treats to put
there
onto that
aren't
list.
there aren't tons of films out there like that, though, are they? So, if anything, it's an interesting kind of watch. What else would you say was in that sort of wheelhouse? Sort of like a found footage pseudo documentary. Guess like is
Ooh,
the
like the fourth
Poughkeepsie
kind?
the fourth kind? Yeah, probably.
The fourth
Um,
kind, which as far as I'm aware is like um it's a bit like Fire in the Sky, isn't it? Which is like pretty tame, pretty tame, pretty tame. Bloody hell. It
yeah,
would like just gets a neck snap towards the end after a big
yeah,
scary ghost voice. That's
yeah.
madness.
Bloody hell.
Well, there you
But
go,
yeah,
this is
it's
the
just
real footage.
another slow burn that is like a slow burn but it's still like only 80 minutes, so for
Yeah.
an 80-minute long slow burn you're a bit like, well, bit long. um and apart from that, film of week.
Film of the week. And I don't know, Ben, if you've had the same going into this, but I always have the most like coming in to record the podcast about it when we watch something that's actually a horror comedy because we like to have a bit of a laugh, don't we? We go through these things, but always the biggest challenge when the film itself is already quite funny to think, well,
Yeah,
what are
yeah,
you gonna add to these things?
because like the art of poking fun at it for something that's already, if it was a rubbish horror comedy you would understand, but this is genuinely a good one. And I actually think probably only the second time I've seen this. I remember this was like a rental back in the day when you used to get a disc through your bloody door. I was about to say through your window, then through your door. Sometimes through your window. I remember renting it, remember watching it, remember enjoying it. But yeah, for some reason I've never gone back to it until now. So uh film of the week is Tucker and Dale versus Evil. It's a 2010 black comedy horror film directed by Eli Craig. It stars Tyler Labine, Alan Tudyk, Katrina Bowden, Brandon J. McLaren. Affable hillbillies, Tucker and Dale, are on a vacation at their dilapidated mountain cabin when they are mistaken for murderers by a group of preppy college students. It's always the preppy college students, isn't it? Um, it's got 7.5 out of 10 on IMDb. It's got 85% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, 85% critic score. 3.7 out of 5 on Letterboxd. And here are some choice reviews. Adam Bolt says the most powerful bromance in all of film. Nathan Rabin says it's borderline miraculous how this is able to stretch a profoundly flimsy premise. Clever, clever, clever. 3.5 stars. Did I say what Adam Bolt gave it? 4 stars? I don't know if I did. Now I have. Team Gal says all of the joys of a teen slasher picture in a very funny package. 3.5 stars. And Thomas says just two bros spending wonderful bro time together in the woods. If it weren't for those meddling college kids. 4 stars out of 5.
There
Yes.
we go.
So
Looking at
this
the caliber,
is
Ben, Eli Craig, the director, you looked at his wider filmography?
uh
If you haven't yet, if you
no.
want to play a guessing game.
Oh, I'm looking at it
What
now, sorry.
you looked at it, never mind. But I think I've seen all but one of his films. I haven't
You have.
seen Clown in a Cornfield, I have not seen.
Wait a
But
minute. Oh, Clown in a Cornfield. Okay, that's that Adam Cesar book. Is that right? Zombieland TV series.
oh,
Excuse me?
Zombieland 2 months later. Sorry, I was just assuming
Zombieland.
it was Zombieland. No. Zombieland 2. Oh, sorry, Zombieland, colon,
Oh,
2 months later.
Zombieland. And it says here Zombieland the series, 28 minute. Was this like a pilot or something?
30
Weird.
minutes. My goodness.
They made a pilot for that? I mean, I had no idea.
Oh, and they also have uh it is the main characters from the film, but it
Yeah.
is not the cast. Kirk
Ah.
Ward instead of Woody Harrelson. Tyler Ross in the place of
Oh, I see.
Jesse Eisenberg, and then we have yeah, like not the same cast at all, but which is a shame. So I've never heard of
Yeah.
this. So no, take it back. I've only seen director of 4 films. I've seen Little Evil with Adam Scott. I didn't see
Okay.
it with
I've not
him.
seen that.
He's in the film.
You didn't see him. He was busy.
But
Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Interesting.
So it
Yeah.
looks like he leans into the comedy aspect of his horrors.
So I think, but based on one of those comments there, it feels like it's one of those, for synopsis wise, it feels like a skit rather than a whole film, doesn't it? It feels like someone's gone, imagine if two hillbilly guys just happened. They look quite scary. Well, not necessarily, but they could be perceived to look quite scary. But imagine if they're absolutely lovely, but they got somehow embroiled in a scenario which made them definitely look like serial killers.
Yeah,
Your leather faces, your hills have eyes, your
they're going to
wrong
Mr.
turn.
Bean it into a series
They're
of
gonna, yeah.
misunderstandings.
And one of his comments was, "It's quite a flimsy sort of plot, really, in terms of what's happening, but it just really, really works and just like has no matter how many times you think that's as far as it can probably go in terms of this, in terms of a plot, it just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going, and it is yeah, it's great. And I think it's mainly because of the performances of those two lead roles, Tucker and Dale, Tyler Labine and Alan Tudyk, but the other way around in terms of their respective names in the
Yeah.
title. But you've seen this before, yeah?
Yeah, a bit like you, Ben. I've only seen it a couple of times. I think I saw it fairly close to release. I'm not sure if we rented it or someone I knew had a copy and they brought it round. So I remember watching it at home, or whether it was on an early streaming service, even or like a Skybox office or what
I
have you.
think
But
I think mine was a love film scenario.
might have been a love film scenario. So either way, we got access to it. We watched it, and then I think I might have seen it once since then. Just when friends around, we pulled it from whatever service it was on. We thought, oh, this is a nice light horror comedy. And then back to it today, and I enjoyed revisiting it. It was very
Yeah.
charming. You talk about the premise. I think you stay on board with the premise, even if it does get more and more ridiculous, because your lead characters are just so unfailingly nice throughout. I think it keeps you on board with the premise. It's a big message, Ben. And
Mm.
apologies. I think when a film is naturally silly, I'm inclined to go the other way and have the most serious discussions we've ever had. But I think it's a big especially in today's modern world, Ben, it's polarized society that we live in. It's a big
Yeah.
thing about trying to understand other people's perspectives, not being so bloody judgmental for
Yeah,
once in your life.
absolutely. Don't be so
And it's
judgmental
about
based on.
stereotypes.
Yeah, it's most definitely about stereotypes. And I guess it kind of goes both ways as well, doesn't it? Like these people who appear like these innocent college kids perhaps are the people who've got the worst intentions. Some of them, of course, not all of them. And Tucker and Dale, two guys who from afar could look well, they're intro when we see them for the first time, literally just staring into the car. Like I think in any situation you'd be like, all right, you bloody knuckle draggers,
I
give
did
it a
cut them up
rest.
though.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But still, you know what I mean? Like, despite that, you kind of probably would make that judgment. Apparently, there is a cut of this film on a DVD, on a special edition DVD, which cuts the film to make it from the college kid's perspective,
Oh, interesting.
which is very interesting. Did you also know it was
Was
remade
it?
and released this year, a South Korean version called
Oh my
Han
goodness.
called Handsome Guys. So
Right.
from reading the
Excuse me
synopsis, it doesn't.
while I just Google handsome guys, Ben.
Oh no, it's come up as you just all you have to type in is H and it comes up. You've already Googled it. Um, I think from the synopsis, it sounds like two people will like get mistaken for being kidnappers when they're trying to save somebody, rather than serial killers or whatever. But yeah, it's a remake. It's a remake of the 2010 Canadian horror film Tucker and Dale vs. Evil. It says here. So yeah, they must have got. There's always been rumors of a proposed sequel. I've heard this loads of times. Um, and apparently, so if the first film was like Good Will Hunting meets Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the idea for the sequel was similar to From Dusk Till Dawn. Apparently,
Okay, that actually felt like a supernatural horror.
yeah, potentially.
Oh, very
But in
interesting.
2014, apparently it was in development. In 2016, apparently it was still in development. So yeah,
Development hell. So just not quite
yeah,
getting off the ground.
disappointing. And then maybe it's one of those films. Enough time has gone by. Are people thinking, is anyone going to bloody remember this? Of course, I don't mean horror aficionados and super fans like us. We remember it, of course, and so did loads of other people. However, is it gonna strike much of a chord in the mainstream?
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe it might get
14.
the board. They ain't gonna know, are they? Um,
They ain't gonna bloody know, of course not.
would you like the synopsis of 2024's Handsome Guys, Ben? I've got it up here.
Hell yeah.
We ain't no ordinary troublemakers. Self-proclaimed tough guy, Jay Pill, and sexy guy, Sangu, leave an unforgettable first impression on their moving day. Despite becoming special surveillance targets for Police Chief Choi and Officer Nam, they are simply happy to start anew in their European-style dream house. However, happiness is short-lived, as they are inadvertently mistaken for kidnappers while trying to rescue Mina, who almost drowns. Meanwhile,
Ah,
uninvited guests start
always
looking for
happens, doesn't it?
Mina that start appearing, and an ancient spirit sealed in the basement awakens. It's a left turn, surrounding the
Jesus.
house with dark energy.
That was a
I'm up for
dark turn.
this. It looks like there's a dog in it. It
Yeah.
looks a lot of fun, does Handsome Guys. Straight on
Self-proclaimed
this.
tough. Was it self-proclaimed tough guy? And what was the other one?
Sexy guy, Sengu.
Sexy guy. Which one? Which one's me? Which one's you, Andy?
Um, I mean, I don't know from right. So, let's see. So
If we need,
Sengu,
if we need someone to be the self-proposed tough guy, I could do the job.
I would say that Sengu is
Self-proposed.
younger, Ben. So maybe that's you. Maybe you can be the sexy
Well,
guy, and I will
I'll
be
take
a
it.
self-proclaimed tough guy on this occasion.
Who's got the best hair there out of them? I could see a mullet going on in the poster.
Oh, and that game, who's got the best hair? I'm probably gonna have to say, yeah, it's sexy guy Sengu has got the best hair.
What you're saying is, Andy, we're chameleons. We could be either of them,
Either of those characters. Yeah.
either of those guys. Well, I mean, I'm definitely going to check this out. Absolutely. How exciting. Um,
See you next week, everybody, when we talk about those handsome guys. But for
in
now,
terms of
Tucker and Dale, though, let's talk about the caliber of some of the people we've got in here. Alan Tudyk, obviously a
yeah,
famous character actor from. And what is your Alan Tudyk go to? What is it you think of when you think of him straight away?
was Firefly, really, isn't it? And the Firefly movie, which is called
Oh, Serenity.
Serenity. Yeah, I think that's probably the first thing I've seen him in. Oh, actually, I stand corrected, said the man with the orthopedic shoe. Dodgeball, a true
Pirate.
underdog story. Steve the Pirate. Simply
Steve the
because
Pirate.
it's generally some of the most upsetting stuff is when he starts to just become convinced, actually, pretending to be a pirate is pretty stupid. I'm just a normal guy now. It's upsetting,
Yeah, it is
isn't it?
very sad. Don't break people's dreams. That's what Tucker and Dale would tell you to do. Believe in yourself.
Yeah. And I guess it's that.
Tyler
What about
Labine,
you? Are
less
you?
familiar.
Yeah, less familiar. What about you for Alan Tudyk, by the way? Is it similar sort of
Probably the
stuff?
same. I was going to go straight to dodgeball.
Yeah, I was just looking at up and down the list, and I was thinking, oh yeah, Serenity, because Firefly wasn't something that like I ever actually got into. It was something I tried to get into. There was like a good period of time where I watched it all, and I watched Serenity, and I was like, I do enjoy it, but it was never like something that I would go, that's
I
one of
only
my
really
favorite
watched the
favorite
movie
things
because I
ever.
think I saw it first. Saw the
Yeah,
movie
yeah,
first,
exactly.
and then and then I started trying to watch this. I've seen this, but I've seen this condensed into 90 minutes, mate.
I've bloody seen it, mate. And then you just see him popping up in absolutely tons of stuff, don't you? As in minor parts or as in character acting parts as well. And I think he's just someone that when he turns up, he's always good. I think he voices a robot potentially in Rogue One, that big droid, security droid who maybe gets reprogrammed. I think
Of
that's right.
course, yeah, the nice assassin
Yeah,
droid.
nice assassin
My
droid.
favorite. Wish he was alive and wish C-3PO had copped it in a prequel. It's much nicer.
Popped it. Tinfoil man. What? I was just looking at this here. Was it from oh shit, what's it called? What's political satire with Doctor Who in it? From
Oh, the thick of it.
the thick of it. I saw a clip of that the other day and it was him describing describing Star Wars. He's like, yeah, that film you like with the tinfoil man and the and the bin that walks around, just like describing it in the worst possible way. It just made me laugh so much. I need to find the quote now because otherwise I'm not gonna tell
While you're
you.
digging that out, I will muse over our third lead. So Katrina Bowden is from she's from some of your favorites, mate. Scary movie. She's from a scary movie sequel from Scary Movie 5. Piranha 3 Double D.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, she's the lead in that, I believe. She's the lead in Piranha 3 Double D. Or like I'm sorry, one of our three main characters. Is in the legendarily bad movie 43 that's got everybody in it.
that's weird because I saw that I've been looking up a bit about this week because Hugh Jackman's been talking about it, talking about being in bad movies, and he mentioned he was in movie 43. I was like, oh yeah, I kind of remember that. And just from looking back at it, I'm like, wow, it's just kind of like short films, isn't it? Like a load of random
Yeah.
short films with like major stars and all the roles. Who was in that? Did you say?
The third lead, so our female lead in this,
Oh,
Katrina
Katrina
Bowden.
Katrina Bowden. I've got the quote now. And I'm sorry, this is left field, but I still have to read it out because it's funny because it made me laugh. It was Malcolm Tucker from The Thick of It describing Star Wars, and he goes, "You know that film you like, the one about the fucking hairdresser, the space hairdresser, and the cowboy. He's got a tinfoil pal and a pedal bin. His father's a robot, and he fucked his sister." A tin. Oh, I don't know why. Just that
Tinfoil
series of
Man.
words. The tinfoil pal. He's got a tinfoil pal and a pedal bin. Because really, if you said that, that makes no sense. But when you've
Once you know,
realized what once you know, you're like, actually, it
that
is
is
a
what it
tinfoil
is.
man and a pedal bin. Anyway, sorry. Um, yeah. So she's in movie 43, and everybody else makes up I guess, kind of the fodder. But the one person you kind of need to be aware of is Chad, the group leader and the film's main antagonist.
Jesse
He
Moss
is.
from Ginger Snaps and Final Destination 3.
Oh wow, okay. So he doesn't come across initially as like a Chad or a Giga Chad or a group leader or a jock or anything like that, does he? He comes across as a bit of a odd, I guess, still slightly odd, but I don't
He's a
know. As
very
the film,
intense character, isn't he?
very
Straight away from
intense
the very
guy,
beginning.
loves throwing like a hatchet at a tree, and he's very into Allison, probably like too much. He's pushy, probably a little bit pushy, isn't he, in a way?
Yeah, a little
Which
bit.
is
Yeah, a little bit entitled. But this is a classic. We begin with, we have like a really ensemble cast for lots of disposable teens, lots of seats in that car that they're driving along as they arrive.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
oh, but a bit like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, we get a cold open, right?
Uh,
Like the
what's the
film
called?
begins with a reporter and a cameraman.
Oh, yes, yes, of course. So a reporter and a cameraman going back to like this cabin, this dilapidated cabin, um, to the preceding events and there's like three people there and they all kind of get taken out by somebody in the shadows. We kind of see someone who looks like they may have maybe a bit disfigured. Isn't that right?
Yeah, we
Um,
see like a disfigured person, and it is, very Texas Chainsaw Massacre, very Resident Evil 7, where someone,
yeah.
goes into film it's like handy cam footage, found footage style, and then you see a shadowy and disfigured man leap out and grab the cameraman and knock out the reporter with like a pole, and then attack the cameraman
Hmm.
and drag them off. And that's our cold open before we
Yep.
go to, you know, 3 days earlier.
3 days earlier. Yes, indeed. So yeah, group of college kids is Allison, Chad, Chloe, Chuck, Jason, Naomi, Todd, Mitch, and Mike. There's bloody loads of them. And they're going on a camping trip in West Virginia. They go to a gas, and this is the thing, right? It leans heavily into these sort of cliches, not just the things like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but kind of like mid 2000s versions of these films as well. Probably more so than things like Texas Chainsaw. So I think Wrong Turn is probably one of the most referenced films, I think.
Yeah, and
And
bear in mind,
they've
Allison is wearing a tank top for a lot of this movie.
yeah, wearing a tank top, and I guess they've gone more for like just hillbillies rather than any sort of inbred monstrous things, But most of these films start in the same sort of way, which is like stopping at a gas station, the last sign of civilization before going into the wilderness, where there's going to be no phone signal. There's going to be if things start to go wrong, you're screwed. Pretty much, that's kind of what you're setting out for. But even I think we know what kind of film we're getting ourselves into anyway. But I don't think at any point are we supposed to actually care about anyone other than
No.
Allison.
Yeah,
And
Allison, and then our main thing's Tucker and Dale themselves, because we're never tricked as an audience into thinking these are bad blokes or these are the enemies of this film. Straight
yeah,
away, we meet Tucker and Dale, who are just two nice blokes, nice friends who have just bought a holiday home, and they are off to fix it up and do a little bit of fishing. And they've clearly
yeah,
been friends like all of their lives.
yeah. They've got some like, I mean, Dale particularly has got some confidence issues. He doesn't really know. Like when he sees these college kids, he isn't thinking damn college kids. He's thinking, oh, I wish I could talk to one
Oh,
of the
they look
girls.
brilliant and beautiful, don't they? Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't.
pretty much. But he can. He's got some confidence issues, and of course, uh, Tucker suggests just smile and laugh. It's fine, and he walks over with
A giant
like
scythe.
a giant safe and pretty much just smiles and laughs, but like a maniac essentially,
Like, you going
and
camping, are
scares
you?
them. I think that's good. But there's a moment in a while as well, which I think is probably one of the most effective, like scary misunderstandings. We'll get to, of course. Um, yeah, so they're two well-meaning hillbillies, but we kind of see things from we don't really see things from the point of view of the college kids, but we're along for the ride in terms of seeing every single misunderstanding that they have. And yes, they're very judgmental. They assume that these are kind of weirdos staring at them a lot of the time when they're just, looking. But that happens sometimes, doesn't it? Sometimes someone walks into your peripheral vision. You might just look over to, you know, most of the time we're just looking for threats. All of us are just cavemen at the end of the day. If someone walks
What's
into
his
your
name?
peripheral vision, you might just go, "Who's that over there?" And then they look at you at that same moment, and then it looks like you're just staring at them, but you're like, "I'm not.
It
I'm
happens
just."
to me all the time, Ben. I feel like that part of my brain is super, it must get too much blood or something. It is too heavily, sensitively wired because
Well,
I am in somewhere, like I'm trying to, like, I'm in a very safe place. I'm enjoying a nice dinner at a restaurant, at a pub or something like that. And then someone will casually walk through my peripheral vision and I'm like a Metal Gear God, I like look
You know,
over.
you know what you need
I'm
to
on
do?
alert for ages.
Have your back to the wall at all times. You know,
Yeah,
like some sort of mob enforcer, back to the wall at all times, or in a corner. Corner's ideal. You know what I mean?
yeah.
That's basically it. But yeah,
Permanent view of everyone.
I've never got like a scythe in my hand, and I think I've got quite a friendly face. So I think almost all the time, if I get caught in that situation, I will do a genuine warm smile, not the kind of smile that. Hmm,
Yeah.
how do you how do you
Frodo at
do?
the end of Return of the King.
Gandalf.
Just give a really slow downward nod.
Oh my God. Oh. Exactly. But sorry, Dale gets it all wrong and freaks out. I think
Freaks them out,
from
and
the
like
from
Chad
the
tries to
get-go,
karate him away. He's like, "Hey, we don't want any
yeah.
trouble, man."
I think from the get-go we can see that Allison is the only one out of the group who has some sort of empathy and
Or
understanding
like
that they're
substance to her. She
yeah.
is scared of them at this point,
Yeah,
but
that's right. You're right.
she's kind of debating, "Oh, what do I want to do with my education? Like, what we doing?" Whereas the others like, "Oh, I can't believe you dragged me all out here, but it's okay. Got some weed. Oh, great. We're fine then."
Oh, there is a guy who's almost like the voice of reason in this group as well, isn't it? The one who has weed and the one who like he got like a gas station attendant shirt on. He looks like he just got off of work or something. That guy, he keeps suggesting things like, well, maybe they're not psychopath killers. Maybe they just did
Yeah.
this or did that. But he gets shut down pretty much all the time. And then obviously events transpire that 100% make it look like Tucker and Dale are psychopath serial killers, which is unfortunate, of course. And yeah, what we mentioned before is get they cut them up when they're trying to pull back onto the highway, and that is when they pull alongside them and just stare at them essentially.
But they're just looking. They ain't staring. That was before they even get to the garage. That's the
Oh yeah, that's
first.
before. Yeah, they're just looking. I'm just looking. I'm not staring. That's the
It's
lyric.
them.
That's it's
So
them.
they're heading along. They have the encounter at the gas station, which Dale continues to feel bad about. He's like, "Oh, that didn't work," and he's kind of beating himself up about it. And I think Tucker talks to him about how he has like this inferiority complex, and that you just have to be
Hmm.
confident and be yourself, and people will like you. But then they have another misunderstanding with the sheriff where he gives them a little flash of the lights and he's going to pull them over, and obviously they have some open tinnies in the car and they don't want to see the sheriff that he's been drinking and driving because naughty naughty, and then it instead looks like in the kerfuffle with him getting down there with
Yeah.
him dropping cans on the floor, and then Dale bends down to get it, and then he loses like his shirt buttons get caught. So then, as he sits up as the sheriff comes to the window,
So
has
first,
a
yeah.
torn
So
open
first,
shirt, and looks like he's been noshing him off in the
looks
seat
like he's
there.
been noshing him off, and then he's ended up topless in which it could be embarrassing in that situation.
It's
And this
West
is
Virginia.
obviously
It's warm. It's just hot.
yeah. It's West Virginia. It's warm, and you know what? If you want to nosh off your pal, why not? If you're
I
both
mean, not while
consent.
he's driving, Ben. We've discussed this before. That is not in
We
the
have.
highway code.
It's not. Well, there's a whole section telling you not to do that. Don't nosh off your pal. If you and your pal are having a great day, even if you're getting on like a house on fire, maybe refrain from indulging in
I mean,
that.
technically, it would be the driver's responsibility to say, "No, thanks. Got to drive this car safely."
No thanks. Maybe later. Maybe we get somewhere safe, or I'll pull over. I'll pull over somewhere
It's
when
a bit
it's
like if you're
safe to
tired.
do so. When
Yeah,
it's
a bit like
safe to do so. Okay.
go
Um.
get to the
So this is
services, have a coffee, 20 minutes.
This is Sheriff Gurr who pulls them over. He turns up a little bit later as well. Current character. He basically is just telling them that they've got a tail light out, right? Doesn't he say that?
Yeah,
And
but he says
then
the area is dangerous, be careful.
the area is dangerous, be careful, but also like this is a good time for us to establish the reason where these characters are going and what they're doing without them needing to just talk about it, because that would be silly. In terms of the way a script would be written, they'd already know where they're going and what they're doing. They wouldn't say it again in the car. Brilliant. They can tell the police officer. I love it. So yeah, essentially Tucker's been saving, bought this decrepit cabin. They're going there to begin repairing it, but it's also like a bit of a vacation scenario as well, isn't it? Doing work on a vacation?
Oh, a little bit
God.
of column A, a little bit of column B there, a little bit of fixing
Yeah,
up.
that's true. That's true. I remember watching some sort of documentary series which poked fun at some silly things in the past. And it was like this guy who was like a builder going on holiday to the beach like in the 70s, and he was like, he sat down for 1 second and he went, right, I got to dig all this sand up then. All this sand to get dug up. Just didn't know how to relax. It was just like, well, I'm on holiday, but all this sand needs digging holes. We got to get these things, dig a nice moat all the way around. It'd be brilliant. Seawater coming, it'd be lovely.
But they're
I was
doing
going to build a
classic, like
drawbridge.
getting things ready. They're like, well, they're like fixing up the windows and like digging like a trench for an
Mm.
outhouse and things like that. So they're trying to make this place nice. Although, did you get from this one? Are we meant to think that this is actually a murder shack historically that they've ended up buying based
Yeah.
on the stuff that's in there? There's quite some spooky things
Yeah,
around
there's
the.
a lot of spooky things. Are we told that they inherited all this stuff, or is it their stuff? They didn't say.
He saved up and bought it, so it's like,
Mm. Come as you are, fully furnished. Yeah, I guess maybe it's kind of. I mean, there's hell of a lot of stuff to cement. I mean, if you'd watched enough movies, if you went into this area, went into this house, looked around for a bit, and then saw those two guys, 20 feet away, you would make a hell of a lot of assumptions, wouldn't you?
yeah,
You
it's an
would.
orgy of evidence that they're definitely wrong uns if you walked in there.
Exactly, yeah. And even like when there's moments where bad things happen and they're trying to like tell the truth, essentially, later on, it's like no one's going to believe that. No one's going to believe it. Um, so yeah, they get to the decrepit cabin. Decrepit sounds horrible, doesn't it? Decrepit cabin. They begin repairing it, as you said. Um, and we also get the standard Chad telling the story to all of the other campers what are around their camp in the woods about the Memorial Day massacre, where a hillbilly attack attacked like a group, including Chad's mum. That's right, isn't it? And
Yeah, I think
killed his
though
dad.
this flashback here, I think we get more decent kills than we get in some lesser entire films.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. There's like a machete to the neck situation. What else happens? Something else happens,
Well,
doesn't
it
it?
begins where, like, they start they're exchanging ghost stories,
Yeah.
and then Chad comes in and says, "No, no, here's the one you all want to hear," and we flash back to now. Get ready, Ben, to feel personally attacked. We flash back to the distant past where a group of teenagers are listening to some ancient music from the past, aka "Pump Up the Jam" by Tektronic.
Bloody hell, that's ancient. That is. What did they have that on? Bloody on not xylophone. What's it called?
A wax cylinder.
The wax cylinder. They had that on a wax cylinder, did they? Bloody hell.
Yeah, so
Not the
Tektronic is
xylophone.
on, and then it gets replaced by stereotypical hillbilly banjo music. And
Yeah.
then I quite like this bit. It comes out and like this spooky hillbilly walks out into the group and so, hey, put our music back on, put on Pump Up the Jam again. And then he's got like a circular saw blade, and he goes, actually, can I just say one thing? I quite like the hillbilly music actually, and he frisbees
Wangs it.
saw blade right into the guy's head, and then we see
Wangs it.
another girl get her throat cut. So this massacre goes on,
Mm.
and it in very very short order we get a number of kills, and Chad ends with the fact that only one person, his mother, who was pregnant with him at the time, survived.
Yeah. And it was his dad who got killed, is that correct?
Yeah, his dad got
Supposedly?
killed. It goes into that a little bit later that his dad had
Yeah.
to watch her be tortured, but we don't
So
get that
again,
until another flashback.
this is to establish a few things. It's to establish like what frame of mind these college kids are going to be in as well. And again, if there is a cut out there, as I mentioned, from their point of view, I bet some of it was pretty believable that potentially these hillbillies could have been related to that attack or descendants of those people in some way. Um, a little bit later, night falls, and well, actually, night has already fallen when they talk about this story, but then they decide to go skinny dipping, Tucker and Dale, and nearby fishing. and this is pretty funny, isn't it? Because obviously everyone starts skinny dipping. Allison is a little bit behind everybody. She, for some reason, climbs up a massive rock, ready to jump
Is it
in.
because that Chad's had like a little bit, we're special,
Oh
you and
yeah, of
me,
course,
we're
that
better than
moment.
everybody else, and maybe we
So
should be together. And she sort of gets away
he
from him.
he tries to kiss her, and she's a bit like, oh, not really into it. And then he's a bit being a bit pushy, being a bit dodgy. She decides we'll talk about this later. And yeah, when she goes in to start to get her skinny dip on, Tucker and Dale are fishing and kind of obviously talking for a while. And then it's kind of all about the fact that Dale's a bit of a pushover because Tucker says you've got to start sticking up for yourself. And he's like, well, I want that beer then. He's like, no, don't take it too far, mate. It's my beer. And this is a pretty funny moment because when he sees Allison undressing in front of him, Dale just like shouts Tucker. Tucker! So and Tucker says, when you see a beautiful college girl undressing in front of you, don't shout my name. Like, so it startles her and she like falls from the rock and lands in the water, but like doesn't come up for air. So it looks like she's hit her head on the way down. Dale jumps in, grabs her, pulls her up onto the boat, and this is when the rest of the college kids from their across the water see this split second of them just dragging her unconscious
Manhandling her
body
into a
into a
boat, and
boat.
then do they shout something like, "Hey, we
They
got
shout,
your friend"?
they shout like, "We've got your friend," which obviously it sounds like this: "We've got your friend. We've saved her." But to them, sounds like, "Hey, we got your friend."
Yeah, and they're
That's what
off.
it sounds like.
Yeah, if you've
Um,
watched too many Wrong Turn movies, then that's what you're assuming, right?
exactly. And they go off basically with her. First of all, they run away. All of the college kids run away. They go and get Chad, and obviously he's like, right, that's it. I'm gonna give me my axe. I'm ready. I'm gonna go and save her because he obviously wants to be the hero as well because I bet that he thinks that will give him more autonomy in terms of being of Allison being attracted to him. Probably he's probably gonna, you know what he's gonna do if he saves her. He's gonna be like, I'm
Yeah.
entitled now. You owe me. You saved me. You owe me. Entitled dude. What a douche. But when they come back to the shore, they just see Tucker and Dale like in the distance, rowing off. Again, this is the thing, right? There are misunderstandings combined with Tucker and Dale being a bit naive and kind of not always doing the right thing. They think they're doing the right thing, but they are doing things that could be perceived to be a little bit. I think they know that.
Just taking a few shortcuts. Like, if it
Yeah.
had been Tucker and Charles Dance versus Evil, if you'd gone, excuse me, your friend has bashed her head and we're taking her back to our cabin for recuperation purposes, then
She's bashed her
obviously,
cranium, and we're taking her back. We're going to put some brown paper and vinegar on it, and she'll
yeah,
be right as rain in the morn.
yeah, if
Please.
they did it like that, they'd be gone, fair enough. But this is the problem with stereotypes, Ben. Uh, they've obviously
Hmm.
pictured these guys as deranged killers.
Yeah,
Um,
and there's no
and
getting away
so
from that.
they take their time, like following them slowly, and then they
Hmm.
don't find her in the cabin until the next day. At which point while they are outside trying to decide who's going to knock the door, because you mentioned one of the characters, like a voice of reason, is like, what if they're not bad people? Why don't we just go knock the door and ask them? And they're outside trying to decide who is going to knock the door. Meanwhile, Allison wakes up in the thing and has an encounter with Dale, and at first she's screamed because she again is afraid of them at first. And he goes, "Oh my God, you don't like pancakes? I will make you something else."
And then he literally goes and makes a whole other breakfast for her, bacon and eggs, and then comes in and says, "Don't tell me you don't like bacon and eggs." I think here her guard starts to come down a bit, and she's a bit like, "Okay, well maybe he is all right
And he
actually."
explains like, you fell off the rock and hit your head. Like we were. She's like, "Were you spying on me?" She's, "No, we just happened to be fishing, and we startled each other, and you fell into
Yeah,
the water."
yeah, which is the truth. That's exactly what happened, isn't it? Um, yeah, but meanwhile, while this is all happening, and the kind of group of college kids have like split up, kind of essentially attack. Are they kind of
No,
they're
this is the point
attacking
where they're
essentially.
about to go and casually knock on the door at this point. So they've
That's
taken
right.
their
That's
boat,
right.
and decided who's going to ring the bell and go and ask about it. Meanwhile, though, Tucker, he's out there doing some of his chores, and he accidentally, like, while he's chopping a rotten old log with a chainsaw and like sawing it up, he accidentally saws through a beehive, so is attacked by a swarm of bees that run out. So then he, as the kids are all coming out of the woods into the clearing, he runs out screaming like ah, and swinging a chainsaw
Swinging the
around.
chainsaw. And the welts on his face from getting stung makes him look like a bit disfigured, and
And he can't
you
really
know
talk properly because
he
he's like,
can't really talk,
"Ugh,"
but he's just screaming. And while he's running, the other guy runs as well. And there's a moment where they end up like parallel to each other,
running
and
side by side.
and Tucker just kind of looks at him as if to say, "Who the hell are you?" Like, uh, but again, it's a great gag. It's a
I mean, it
great bit
happens
of
to this boy
physical
though, Ben.
comedy.
Happens to him.
Oh yeah, you got to look where you're running, ain't you? Because you run
Yeah,
straight into. This is Dog Soldier style. Some who does that in Dog Soldier? Someone runs straight into like a log like sticking out from a tree,
yeah. You need to
impales
watch out for
themselves
these
on it.
logs in the forest if you're ever running because you get your chest pierced on a spike.
Oh, that's what you're gonna say. Okay,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
gets this. There's more than one chest pierced on a spike in this film. I feel like look where you're going in it. For God's sake. For God's
Yeah.
sake.
He gets
Or at
pierced on
least
a
if you're not
spike, and
looking where you're
then
going, slow down a bit. Don't run absolute full pelt towards it. You know what I
and
mean?
this is one of the more reasonable kids as well, right? This is Mitch, and I feel like, I mean, only for a second
Yeah.
because he is pierced with a spike at this point, but you feel like he is standing there and he's sort of groggily standing up there with his last ounces of life.
Yeah, because this
And I
is
think
kind of like
you see a bee like land on him and then fly away, and it's kind of like, oh, I understand.
yeah. That's quite an interesting shot. That is when he's like proper dying. He's proper like washed out and like, and then he sees little bee land and he realizes actually maybe I have got the wrong end of the stick, but too late, I'm dead. Um, but yeah, it's a great bit of physical comedy. It works really well. I was cracking up at that. But essentially, what happens is now is that everything that kind of happens is the college kids misinterpreting hostility and essentially like overexerting themselves and like accidentally killing themselves trying to get at Tucker and Dale.
Trying to get Tucker and
Um,
Dale. So, having had breakfast and played a bit of trivia together, Tucker comes back into the cabin. He points out that you're supposed to be helping me. So, Dale and then Ali, they come out to help.
dig the crapper hole.
Yeah, dig the crab a hole.
Oh yeah,
After they played a bit of
we must
trivia.
also mention that Tucker didn't see this guy impale himself on the tree. He
No,
just
he
carried
just
on. He
ran
carried on
past.
running away. Yeah. Yeah. And the college kids, when they see Allison helping dig the hole, they go, "Oh my God, he's making her dig her own grave." And this is when Chad basically says, "We're all in a battle for survival now. We got no phone signal because someone's trying to get phone signal." He's like, smashes her phone, says, "What's wrong with you? We got no phone signal. This is,
He is so
you know, like,
extreme. There's no signal. He crashes it all up. He is a
yeah,
great comedy foil. Like
you'd be fuming, wouldn't you?
Chad's
You'd be
character
fuming."
is a brilliant way to like drive all of those horror stereotypes by like, haven't you got any signal? Breaks her phone, sends the one guy off in the car. So instead of them all leaving to get the
Yeah,
police.
there are tons of cliches on it that's happening, and they deserve everything that they get bloody coming to them, pretty much, don't they?
Yeah, so they're in there. I mean, when Ali comes out to help Dale drive things, he is momentarily distracted because I tell you what, there hasn't been anyone gaze at midriff quite this much since Michael Bay directed the first Transformers movie.
I thought you were gonna say,
Maybe only on that occasion.
I thought you were gonna say you're a friend of mine, old John Voight from Anaconda, staring at Jennifer Lopez.
Top three, easy.
What's
So
his
I would
name?
say,
We can't don't tell me we've forgotten his name already.
oh, I can't
We
remember.
spent so much time with him. Uh, yeah, what is his name?
Snakeman,
Old Snakeman. He's got just like, oh, Paul Cerrone,
Paul Cerrone.
the Paraguayan snake hunting dirty old pervert. pretty
You
much. And
dirty
we
old
can
man.
diss John Voight because I think he is a bit of a knob in real life. So there you go, John Voight, take that. Um, yeah, some midriff staring going on.
Yeah, they get some midriff there, and then to the point where Al even says, "Are you going to Now I've come out to help you dig this thing because she shows that she's very capable. She grew up on a farm, help out or get out. So and then he's so you're gonna also now help me? Or you just gonna stand and stare at me? He's like, no, I'm
Also, I must
gonna
suggest
help.
because considering we keep saying college kids, it might sound a bit dodgy, but I think Dale is probably like supposed to be 20 something, right?
Yeah, I'd take it out.
Yeah,
Dale's meant to
he's
be in
supposed to be 20
his
something.
20s. Yeah,
Maybe Alan Tudyk is maybe like late 20s,
yeah,
early 30s in this, Um, yeah, that probably makes more sense, doesn't it? Just in
yeah,
case it sounds like too, oh, we're being so nice to these hillbillies, but he's perving on a college girl. I think
yeah.
is a bit more acceptable.
And college in the UK sense, when you're 16, no, they are.
No,
I mean, and
20.
also
It's
they're
got
actors portraying
that's
college
true,
folks as well, so
but
it means
still.
they're mid 20s if they're a day.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. Just wanted us. Didn't want Dale to get cancelled.
No, I wouldn't, because that would be just his look, wouldn't it?
That would be just as luck. Yeah. Okay. So pretty much, Chad says it's a fight for survival, battle for survival. So they all decide to attack. Basically, they like get some spikes, make some spikes out of branches, and decide to attack. First of all, Todd, someone called Todd, one of the guys, one of the college
Yeah,
guys, probably hasn't said or done
race
much.
he races at Dale as he's digging the pit. Dale makes the assumption that as he's screaming and running towards them with like a big makeshift spear, that he's trying to kill Allison, and then as he turns to tell her to get out of the way,
Yeah.
accidentally Chucker Brothers style clonks her on the head with the spade.
But this is it, isn't it? Like this film is good at eliminating potential, potential moments where someone could go, hang on a minute, actually, everything's fine. It's good at eliminating those moments with these little mishaps, like she gets knocked out, falls into her grave, but again, Todd now impales himself on his own spear and falls onto Dale, who's screaming, obviously.
Yeah, so
Um,
basically Dale also falls into the grave. The spear gets thrown in, and then the guy goes to leap through and just impales himself on his own spear.
yeah,
Whereas this moment, I would say, is probably the iconic moment of the film,
yeah,
right? And I still knowing it was coming, the setup and delivery of this is brilliant. So
yeah.
Tucker is throwing logs into a wood chipper, and then you see this other guy psyching himself up to run and attack him, and then he just bends down to get into the log as this guy leaps at him, and he full on just dives over him head first into the chipper, and it is incredible.
So Tucker like grabs his legs to obviously try and help him, but then we see it from the perspective of someone else, and it looks like he's just like forcing him in,
Feeding him into the thing,
feeding him
and as
into the
if
wood
one of
chip.
the girls like just gets the spray out of the front of the chipper, just
Yeah, gets
splashed
all the
all over
blood
it.
in her face. This is the thing, like even though it doesn't skimp on like the gore and the actual kills, like it's good effects as well, and it makes it that much more funny, I guess. Obviously Tucker, when the wood chipper kind of like conks out, he says, "You okay?" Which is pretty funny. Um, he's not, unfortunately.
Tries to get him out, and he's just got legs.
Just got leg. And there's a moment later where they're picking up the legs, Tucker and Dale, and they go, "Oh, this guy's heavy for half a guy."
So good. It's so brilliant. So they run inside. They've at this point they've now both seen someone killed.
Yeah,
So they are obviously in shock because they aren't murderous hillbillies. They're just normal, just regular men. Um,
it's regular fellers, and they basically come to this realization that these college kids are part of a suicide pact. That they've come here to kill themselves, but they're also trying to kill Allison as well. At this point, we must remember Allison is completely knocked out, so they can't get any answers from her. Um, and they say if we contact the police, it's going to make us murder suspects. And they basically do a whole bit where they say, "Oh, we've had a doozy of a day. These kids just turned up and started killing themselves. Like, obviously, no
just
one's
as
going to
the
believe
sheriff
that."
turns up, right? So they're literally carrying the legs to try and clean the place up as the sheriff arrives. Um,
What's weird? The sheriff doesn't get his gun out at all, does he?
is
Basically,
it? He's a reasonable sheriff, Ben.
He's
He
a
just
reasonable sheriff. You'll think like literally body parts in their hand, you might get your gun out, but no, he doesn't.
goes,
They
let's go
this
inside and talk about this.
he arrives with the guy who'd gone off to get help. Again, another trope that perhaps has been turned on its head. The person who's gone to get help has got help. That
Yeah.
we don't get that very often. Um, and yeah, basically says they basically tell the truth. They say, "This is what's been happening. We've got the girl inside. She's in my bedroom. I accidentally knocked her out, but she'll clear this whole mess up."
The sheriff
Um,
comes in, he checks that she's knocked out but is not dead, not brain dead.
yeah.
Um,
And
and
earlier
then
we got Chekhov's weak beam earlier as well.
yeah, where Allison almost leans back on a beam and Dale stops at the last minute and points out that it's very loose and it's not very well constructed. The
Yeah.
sheriff leans on it, and unfortunately, a big spiky, like bomby knocker, like a bit
Oh
of
yeah,
wood
it's
with
horrible,
nails
isn't
in
it?
it, comes down, gets stuck in his head.
Smashed into his head, and again we see it from the point of view of the college kids. Police officer just stumbles out with wood stuck in his head. They're like, "Oh my god, they've killed him!" He comes all the way over to the. He's still conscious and
Oh, he's gonna work it out there, or he's gonna walk it off.
he's gonna walk it off. Sorry, but bloody moth just flew around near me head. Then scared the bejesus out of me. He's gonna walk it off. Oh yeah, someone says he's gonna walk it off. Who says that? It's Tucker
I
Adele.
think
And
it's
I
Tucker or
think
Dale. Yeah,
yeah, he's gonna walk it off. He's gonna be fine. Um, and then Chuck, what happens then? He tries to get
oh,
the
this is so good. So the sheriff staggers back out to the car, reaches for his radio, but then collapses down dead, having
yeah,
had loads of nails in his head.
of course,
One of the college kids, I think it's Chuck, the guy who drove out to try and get them, he grabs the sheriff's gun
yeah.
and points it at Tucker and Dale and says, "Hey, don't you move there." Dale says, "Oh, the safety's on. You're gonna have to turn it off just at the
Oh
side
yeah,
there." And while he is doing it, the kid points the gun at his own face while he undoes it, and then
yeah.
and he just I had my head in my hands laughing and like it is so well timed from a
Yeah,
slapstick position.
yeah, yeah. It is ridiculous, isn't it? And we're getting quite the body count already, aren't we? Like it really is kicking off. Um, okay, so after that happens, what happens next? Oh yeah, Chad appears now, and he's trying to shoot Tucker and Dale. Um, and while they're in the cabin, I think is basically trying to create a diversion by shooting at them with a nail gun. While Dale, sorry, while Tucker goes to
To
get the
rescue their
dog.
dog because they're
We've not even
threatening their
mentioned
lovely, kind dog.
Jangard, lovely kind dog Jangers, who again could potentially look big and menacing to an outsider, but apparently he is very, very gentle. But he's tied to a tree, so in this moment where it's all kicking off, they're shooting at each other. Tucker goes to let the dog untie the dog. Dog runs off, but then Chad manages to get hold of Tucker and basically take him
Take him
prisoner.
hostage, and they cut two of his fingers off. You see him wake
Again,
up.
this is all of these tropes are like on turned on their head because cuts two of his fingers off, sends them back to the cabin for Dale and Allison to look at. I think is Allison awake at this point? Yeah, I think
Alison's
she is.
awake at this point, and Dale has just described like I think all of your friends have gone mad. I don't know what's happening. And then they said, "Oh, this is a misunderstanding." And then basically a brick is thrown through the window with the two fingers wrapped in a note saying,
Yeah.
"Come here, or we're killing your friend."
Again, literally, it's literally just been flipped on its head. So now we definitely know the bad guys are. I'm sure Allison is confused in this moment, but it doesn't matter. It's too far gone. There's no going back from this. So it's basically an attempt to draw Dale out. He goes to rescue Tucker, and this is when the two of the other college kids come to the cabin to save Allison. Dale manages to well, first of all, it's a trap, isn't it? Because like a spike nearly sort
Nearly
of goes for
impales
his
him.
legs, and he goes, "For the first time, I'm glad I'm not hung like a bear." I think he says, and I was a bit like, "A bear's notoriously got large genitalia." I don't know about that. I've never heard that turn of phrase before, but he's all right. He cuts down Tucker, and while this is happening, Chad, not Chad. Is it Chad? Yeah, Chad and Naomi go to save Allison, but obviously Allison is trying to explain the situation. To
And they go, "Oh, I
which,
see. Stockholm syndrome, is it?"
oh yeah, classic bit of Stockholm syndrome, is it? After you've been there for 1 day, that's definitely a thing.
And they're
Um,
trying to burn the cabin down out there, so they're throwing petrol around all over the
yeah,
cabin.
throwing petrol everywhere, so he's gonna. But Chad is like beyond like reasoning at this point. He basically says, but again, he not only is he making assumptions based on these people, but he's letting generational trauma affect how he sees the world and people in it.
Oh,
Something
come
that
on,
is
Chad.
very,
Don't be
very
the entire
prevalent.
plot of Smile.
Don't really interpret plot of Smile. He's like, my grandmother told me that my father was killed in the Memorial Day massacre, and my mother was a lone survivor, and it was by bloody hillbillies just like this, and they're just the same. They're probably related in
But
some
what
way.
Alison, who wants to be like a mediator, she's a psychology student and wants to
Oh
deal with,
yeah,
I think she says when she's first making friends with Dale that she feels a lot of conflict in the world is caused by poor communication. So if we'd all just
yeah,
communicate better, and she sits down, that's where Chad tells that story, and Dale is telling his side of the story as well. But how does this? It looks like it starts brokering for peace, but then how does it go wrong? Is it Chad just kicking off?
yeah. So I think there's a fire that breaks out, isn't there?
Well,
Like I
that
can't remember
breaks
exactly what
out because I
happens.
think, oh, that's it. One of the other teenagers bursts in with like a strimmer and
Yeah, yeah,
charges at Tucker,
yeah.
who ducks, and then
Takes
his own
off.
girl, like one of the other teenagers, I believe it
Allison? Oh no, that's
is
the
it
main one, isn't it?
Chloe?
Like
Chloe gets
Naomi. There's one called Naomi as well. There's two.
Naomi. It
Naomi
might
is the
it might be
girlfriend.
it might be Naomi. She gets a strimmer in the face.
She gets Strimmer in the face, takes her face off. He says, "Why didn't she duck?" I can't remember exactly how the fire breaks out, but there's one of the teenagers is like a smoker, and she like lights a
Oh,
cigarette
what
when
happens
he's
is,
burned down.
yeah, she throws like a cigarette down, or she throws something down, and then the Jason's trouser leg catches fire, and I just love the
Yeah,
escalation of it because right, like, I think Tucker is there saying, "Oh, it's okay, just stamp it out or go outside. It's only your leg, just don't panic." And then Chloe, I think,
stop, drop, and
grabs
roll.
like a bottle of something to throw over him, but it is
Moonshine.
a
It's
big jar
moonshine.
of moonshine. So as soon as she
Exactly.
throws it at his feet, he goes up in flames, and there are loads of
Oh, it.
tins of petrol that have just been left around the cabin, and it just goes up in goes up in flames with a
Yeah,
couple, right?
it's devastating, really. Isn't it? So, and it is quite sad. I feel for Tucker in this moment because when they all get out and lay down in front of there, Tucker is genuinely upset that his holiday home essentially has now just been burned down. Um, and I feel for him in this moment. I do feel for him. He just wanted to have a lovely time away with his friend, and it's all gone to shit. Um, but now, as they all when they get away, Chad emerges from the charred remains of the cabin, and he's
He
Two
just
Face now, isn't
he's a two-face now, isn't he?
he? He's an evil Two Face. His hair's all messy. Not that that's relevant, but he's basically like a big
He's got a scabby half face. He's now completely insane. And just as
yeah.
Tucker and Dale get away in the car, they crash,
They
unfortunately, while
immediately
they're looking
crash, and
back.
it's Dale's fault because he's not bloody looking at all which way he's going, is he? He wakes up to the dog like licking his face. um, Poor old injured Tucker basically tells Dale what's happened. Chad's taken Allison to the old sawmill, of course. There's obviously going to be an old sawmill nearby. And he basically gives Dale some words of encouragement, doesn't he?
Yeah. I think at this point he says, "Oh, you remember I told you that I would always be able to do this, or I was better than you. I shouldn't have. In fact, I was worried that you were actually much quicker than me." And he points out that you are kind, you are strong. This is positivity between friends,
Yeah,
men. It's like
it's
you are
lovely, isn't it? Yeah.
strong, you are kind, you have a good heart, and you can do this. I believe in
Go
you.
go and rescue that girl. So yeah, he goes to the sawmill. We've got like a James Bond style trap set up with Allison tied to a log on a conveyor belt, which is going to go towards like a saw blade.
Yeah.
And basically, Dale
Tries
arrives.
to mac on with her, but she's not having it. So then he
Yeah,
just falls
bloody
completely to
hell, Chad.
insanity. He doesn't want
Jesus.
Alison anymore. He says, "Oh, that's not very grateful. I'm gonna have to saw you up, mate."
Yeah, he's just gone. He's gone full horror villain now, isn't he?
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So Dale arrives, rescues Allison. They manage to barricade themselves in
I
his
love
office
this rescue scene,
upstairs.
Ben, where we get like I
Yeah.
feel like
Oh yeah, yeah. Of course.
after
Just
last
remember.
week's 3D movie, we get a 3D effect axe
Yeah.
throw as he chops
That.
the rope that's tying Allison down.
Yeah, because he's struggling to get her. Yeah. All this time, obviously, he's fighting Chad as well. But when they get away, they lock themselves in an office upstairs, and there's loads of clippings, based newspaper clippings, um, that reveal Chad's father is one of the hillbillies responsible. How did
Yeah.
they? How did they? How did they come to that assumption
Just
again?
looks like him. One of the
Just look.
hillbillies that's arrested looks exactly
That looks
like
a bit
him.
like him, doesn't it? Yeah, yes, his dad. And they tell Chad, they say like, listen, uh, your your dad is one of the hillbillies. You're half hillbilly,
He said,
and you're
"That's
treating us.
impossible."
Yeah, that's bloody impossible. Bloody. Um, he's
Yeah, that's
furious.
impossible. And that gives us earlier on while they were playing trivia, Dale's Dale reveals that even though he doesn't consider himself to be very intelligent, which not looking at the positivity that he should have about
Yeah.
himself, he
Well, he
does
says
have
he's
the
not
type of
very.
brain that just remembers trivia,
That's
and
pretty
he
intelligent, though, right?
notices
That's most of what being
notices
smart is. Just remember
yeah, just
stuff.
remember stuff. He notices that some chamomile tea, and he also knows that one of the active ingredients in chamomile tea triggers asthma, which is what Chad has, because we've seen him use his
Yeah.
inhaler several times throughout the film.
Used to sailor loads of
Just
times. Yeah.
blows the tea into his mouth like gold dust.
Yeah.
And he starts having an asthma attack, and he goes, "Oh, don't worry. As long as we get him to his inhaler, he'll be fine." Except he stumbles out of the door and then falls to his supposed death, Michael Myers style.
And that's when they go, oh, maybe not actually. Let's just close this window. Just out of sight, out of mind, right? To his apparent death. Yeah, apparent death. Then it's the next day. Police and news crew arrive at the cabin, and there's a news report stating that the deaths appear to be at the result of a suicide pact and a deranged killer. I mean, the media would never report it like that, would they? The media would definitely pin it on these guys. Um,
Who is revealed to be Chad, who we know from the cold open has
yeah.
survived. Maybe we're setting Chad up for a sequel.
Oh, yeah, he could still be knocking about, couldn't he? Um, Tucker is in hospital watching the report on the news. Dale comes in to visit him, and he's all right. He's all right. He's gonna live. He's absolutely
And he's
fine.
had his fingers reattached, even though one
Oh
of them
yeah.
looks suspiciously like one of the girl's fingers. Lovely
Yeah,
painted nail.
beautiful. And he's like, yeah, I think my nail was like that. Brilliant. And yeah, this is when Dale manages all of his anxiety, all of his insecurities. He puts them to one side, asks Allison on a date, and they're
They
gonna go
go have a
bowling.
lovely time bowling, and
Oh
then you
yeah, he
also
just
see he is now passing on the advice to an older man who also is insecure about talking to beautiful young
yeah,
people. He's like, just be yourself.
yeah. I forgot to say, like when they cut Tucker's fingers off earlier, and when Dale unwrapped him, he was like, "Oh no, his bowling fingers."
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, we get a happy ending with Dale and Allison confessing their feelings for each other, having a kiss, and the other hillbilly accidentally.
Accidentally knocks out a woman on the other bowling lane, and you can see a whole new set of misunderstandings kicking off, and everyone
Yeah.
going crazy. He's like, I'm not helping with
Oh,
this.
bloody
And they
hell.
just have a
No,
lovely kiss,
nothing to do with me.
and the
Uh,
film
just stay out of it.
ends.
Exactly. And the film ends. There we go. That's Tucker and Dale versus Eva. It would be nice to have a sequel, you know? I feel like just a different scenario where something could be misunderstood. You know what I mean? Just these characters in a different scenario would be enjoyable, I think. So if it was From Dusk Till Dawn, something. I don't know. Maybe they're in a situation where there are vampires all around them, but they never ever fully understand that they're vampires, you know?
Oh, so it goes either way that they are misunderstanding. So they're
Yeah,
maybe thinking
maybe.
that
Yeah, because we've already done it the other way around, you know, that's kind of
so have them
yeah.
misunderstanding the level of threat that they're in and treating them with
Yeah.
unconditional positivity, despite the fact they're all
Yeah, possibly
vampires.
something like that. Yeah, even though these vampires are trying to kill him. Yeah, let's do it. Let's get it in development, guys.
I'd watch it.
Okay. Oh yeah, I'd absolutely watch it. 100%. Um, okay. Have you
There
got
you go. Bit
any?
of trivia for you, Ben, as we get there, though, that the film's director, Eli Craig, and his wife, they're the reporter and the cameraman from the beginning.
Oh, okay.
Cheeky
Interesting.
little cameo.
Interesting. Lovely bit of trivia. Have you got any name game?
I'm sure I can come up with some, Ben.
If you've not got any, Andy, I'm fully happy. I'm 100% happy to take this on the chin.
I mean,
Because I've got
I've
a
got at
few.
least one.
Okay, all right.
Do
I'll
you
go
want to go
first. Is that okay?
first? Yeah, go first.
Okay. Affable hillbillies or affable leading men are on
Handsome
vacation at their
men.
mountain cabin when they are mistaken for murderers, and this one half of the famous leading duo from Rush Hour and the host of Supermarket Sweep together versus evil.
Is it Tucker and Dale versus Chris Tucker and Dale Winton versus Evil?
Yes, it is. You got that completely. They didn't even give it a moment's thought. You're like, I know
Yeah,
exactly
that
what this
was.
is.
I was like Ultra Instinct. Then I just knew it.
Chris Tucker and
Um,
Dale Winton versus Evil. Rest in
um,
peace, Dale Winton, not
Dale
Chris Tucker.
Winton. Um, here's one for you though. A mild-mannered haulage expert and the very concept of locomotive travel team up to
This sounds like
to face evil.
this sounds like something your dad would watch on like on Discovery Plus or something.
Exactly.
What you watching there, Dad? I'm watching Trucker and Rail versus Evil.
Trucker and rail versus, I guess, environmental damage evil.
Trucker and Rail versus Evil, and the evil is just stop oil. They've super glued their hands to the road, and yeah, again, talking about judgmental, getting
Yeah.
misunderstood. Uh,
Yeah.
poor old Trucker and Rail, and poor old.
I mean, rail, much more sustainable, but trucker, maybe a natural enemy, but
That's true. That's true.
maybe they're doing all right. Maybe they're not idling their trucks overnight. Maybe trucker is staying in a hotel and not having to just keep on the road all the time.
There we
Maybe
go.
uses biodiesel. Who knows?
If you glue your hand to a railway as well, I mean, I'm going to say most times it's going to end badly.
Yeah.
Don't do that out there. Okay, what else have I got? Uh, God, literally, I've just written these down with no thinking, Andy. So I
Yeah.
apologize
That's all
for
right.
the way these pass out. Okay, affable hillbillies are on vacation at a dilapidated cabin when they are mistaken for murderers. One of which has got beautiful, beautiful lips. Lovely, beautiful lips. And the person's nickname is based on those lovely lips that are
Yeah.
always in a state of they're always out and,
Ready for a kiss.
looking delicious, ready for a kiss. And the other person, ever such white skin, a goth, if you will.
Is it Pucker and Pale versus Evil?
This is like a 70s cop show.
Pucker and
Pucker and
Pale.
Pale. This guy, he's
Jamie
always putting lip.
Oliver. Jamie Oliver and a goth.
Oh, yeah, Pucker and Pale. Oh, God. Pucker and Pale. One's a goth. The other one is always using lip gloss all the bloody time. They're both using lip gloss, actually.
Just one of
One's
them's got black lip gloss.
one's got black lip gloss. The other one's like a strawberry flavor. Yeah. Okay. Anything else,
Right.
Andy?
Let me think here. So, Todd Carty, aka Mark Fowler from EastEnders, as a little boy in Grange Hill, he teams up. He teams up with a shelled mollusk to defeat the forces of darkness.
Shell mollusk. Not another shell mollusk. I can't remember his character name from Grange Hill, so I'm gonna say, is it like Mucker?
Yeah,
No?
I'm going to change it at all.
Is it Mucker?
It's Tucker.
Oh, it's Tucker as well. So I've got to change it. I was trying to think of Mucker. And Snail. It's Tucker and Snail versus Evil.
I mean, you have to just check that that isn't just another Granger character, because despite my advanced years being, I'm not quite, yeah, Tucker Jenkins.
Oh yeah, okay.
And it is Mark Fowler. Got it.
Mark Filer. What a great one. Okay, I've got one. Affable hillbillies are on vacation in a dilapidated mountain cabin in the middle of Australia when a load of Z-list celebrities come in to make a reality TV show, and one of the bits they do is just by eating a load of bollocks, kangaroo anuses, and
Yeah.
grubs.
Is it Bush took a trial at Dale versus Evil?
No, it's Bush Tucker Trail versus Evil.
Oh,
I mean, I've just added that bit there. It could easily be the first answer. Bush Tucker Trail versus Evil. See, it's much more fun when it's a title like this and not just one word. Pucker and Pale. Is that
um,
it?
tell you what, I can come up with one more. So
Squeeze another one out.
yeah, I can wring another one out of my brain. So one fella who I tell you what, he's an annoying piece of shit, and people have just renamed him because they're always like, "Oh, you," and they always say it to him all the time. And Jesus's favorite cup team up to fight the forces of darkness.
Jesus' favorite cup.
Yeah,
Is it Fucker?
yeah, fucker,
Fucker and Grail.
fucker and Grail.
Oh, I
Again,
like
that's
it.
another odd couple, isn't it?
It's a very odd couple, yeah. I'll never put them together. Okay, last one then. I guess kind of similar to yours. Affable. It's a different duo now. A different duo. It's Samuel Jackson and John Travolta in Pulp Fiction versus Evil. But very, very key to this whole scenario is the wallet of one of those characters and the words written upon that wallet, because
So,
apparently it's the key to taking down evil.
so Jules has just gone by it. So don't call me that anymore. Call me by the wallet is the important character. So he said, "Badass motherfucker" or "bad motherfucker" versus evil.
Badass motherfucker and Dale versus evil. Dale could be John Travolta. That could be what Jules and what's his name? Vincent. No,
Vinny. Yeah.
Vinny.
Vincent Vega.
Vincent Vega. That's it. Uh, there we go. Is that it?
That's it, I think, for another week
Well,
of
that was
name
fun.
game.
That was fun. Okay, so we got to rate the movie, rate good or rate bad. A to F, pluses and minuses are allowed. Um, I feel like I'm always copying you, so I'm going to go first, Andy. So it feels
Go
like
on,
you're copying
please.
me, if anything. Let's go for an A minus because I had a lot of fun with this. I was laughing out loud a lot. Love the relationship between Tucker and Dale. I love the horror tropes. It kind of flips on its head, and yeah, in terms of a premise, it sounds like a skit rather than a like feature length movie. So the fact that they managed to get so much out of it, I mean, it's really got legs. And never at one point did I think, okay, it's probably gone too far
I
now.
wind it up, why don't you?
I
Yeah.
was always it like along for the ride, and I enjoyed it. And some great performances, great, like genuinely some great gore and great kills, and some big laughs. And I think that's kind of all you want from a horror comedy, isn't it? So A minus, I'm gonna go for.
What more could you be asking for? I'm gonna, you know what, Ben? It's a good job you went first, 'cause otherwise it would look like you were copying me. I'm gonna stick with you on an A minus because again, really enjoyable. It doesn't scrimp on the horror side of things, because the kills in it are gory and over the top, as much as you'd see in any slasher movie. It's just done with a bit of light-hearted relief from the characters. And what I like about it as well, and what I think comedies so often now get wrong, is that the main characters are good. They're nice people. They're
Yeah.
uncomplicatedly nice people. They're not arseholes that actually maybe learn a lesson or, become
Mm.
have some redeemable features. They've just taken uncomplicatedly, genuinely nice people who, we are endeared to from the very moment we see them and continue to be nice throughout the thing. You want them to be successful and you want them to be okay versus the stereotype certainly that the college kids expect them to be, and also what we feel about the college kids themselves, that disposability of these ones. These are essential characters from the beginning.
Hmm.
Um, this could be lightning in a bottle. I could happily live with the current situation where we only see these once, but if we
Yeah.
saw these characters return in a follow-up, um, I'd be delighted to see them. But otherwise, I think this sits up there with some of the horror comedy all-timers. An A minus also from me.
Yeah. I think so. I think it does. And then maybe it's because this is only the second time I've seen it, so it's not like I've seen it so much that maybe it's less effective that way. I think because it's only the second time I've seen it, all of everything felt incredibly fresh this time around. Okay, there we go then. That is Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Next week, as mentioned, we've got Trap movie Night Shyamalan movie. Movie Night Shyamalan movie. That's too many movies. With Ash Millman joining us again. So join us for that. That should be exciting. Thanks everybody for listening. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks to all of our patrons over there. Thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating or review. Head over to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube. We're all over the place. Just search Horror Hangout Podcast and you shall find us. And of course, thanks Andy for being a right horror dude.
Thanks for you being a right horror dude, Ben. And then, just like Tucker and Dale would say, just believe in yourself out there, all right?
Just what a lovely ending. Just believe in yourself. Also, if you're indulging in any chainsaw activities, cutting logs or anything, make sure there's not a bee's nest or wasp's nest or anything within the middle of that log because you
Just,
will end up running
just be a bit
around.
careful.
Just be careful, yeah. Be careful. And give everyone the love and support they deserve. Don't make judgments based on the way someone looks or what lifestyle they lead. Unless, of course, they're a twat.
Yeah,
I don't know where I was
absolutely.
going with
That's
that.
the. I tell
I
you
don't know
what,
where
if
I
you've
was
been
going with
keeping up
that.
with the news recently, unless you're a certain type of person, that's guys, fuck them right off. But
Yeah.
generally, give people the benefit of the doubt if you don't
Genuinely
mind.
give people the benefit of the doubt, but if the benefit of the doubt is not deserved, it's fine also to call
But not
people
based on
twats,
appearances, if you could. Yeah, if
but
someone's
not
proven
based on
themselves to
appearances.
be a
I,
cunt, then believe
I
them, all
feel
right?
like we're talking ourselves around in circles. This is a topic for a whole different podcast, but still, our hearts are in the right place. Anyway,
Yeah,
until
be
next
nice out
time.
there, everybody. See you later. Bye.
Bye. See ya.